Okay, so it seems that recently there's been a little bit of a situation going on with a VTuber called Admiral Trina. Now, it seems like they've been getting a lot of backlash over a couple of things. It seems like as well their kind of company has responded to this as well. And essentially, yeah, they are a kind of a VTuber who is like they do like sailing stuff and talk about like a lot of kind of military things as well. And that seems to be quite a common thing, within VTubing in general. There tends to be a couple of, military, I guess, based VTubers that are interested in military, whether it's, the Navy, whether it's, the Air Force or whatever. There's a couple of them that kind of make that their, thing. And obviously, yeah, it seems like Trina here is more so into the Navy kind of side of things. And obviously, yeah, they talk about, for example, here, why you should enlist in the US Navy, which is one of the posts that kind of blew up lately, which was uploaded yesterday. And yeah, so it got over 600,000 views and 500 likes. Let's just play the video, and then obviously we will talk about some of the reactions to this, right?
Okay, everyone, real talk. People ask me all the time why someone should enlist in the Navy. Well, the answer? Opportunity. Skills, education, travel, healthcare, steady pay, and real-world experience you don't get sitting at home. You can learn a trade, see the world, and be part of something bigger than yourself. And no, I am not a recruiter, but this is very important. Do your research first. The Navy isn't one size fits all. Look into rates, duty station, sea versus shore duty, contracts, advancement, and lifestyle. Talk to sailors, not just recruiters.
So yeah, that's obviously, what people have been looking at. Now, again, I think the way that it is framed, the way that it is kind of, talked about, does really seem like a recruitment ad or something like that, right? It really does. And even if it isn't the case, even if she isn't a recruiter or anything like that, I think the way that it is framed, the way that it's kind of like, I guess, produced, it does kind of read off as like almost like a recruitment ad, right? But again, that's what kind of a lot of people have been commenting down below, saying some people say, nah, the Navy sucks, bro, which obviously yeah, some people have that opinion. But if you say, I'm not here to convince anyone to join the fleet, same day you post this, lol, man, just admit you're a Psyop and get over with it. I said nobody wants to sign up to commit war crimes on behalf of PDFs, oil companies, and Israel dog. They're saying, see the world straight from my retired Navy dad. Sure, you get to see the world until some dumb blank gets drunk, tries to hit on the first woman that he sees, and then the entire ship gets restriction because of him, and his buddies got in a fight with the local cops. Happened a lot. So yeah, apparently, it's not as great as it seems. I don't know. I've never been in the Navy, so I could tell you. They're saying, I am not a recruiter, but the US Navy is super cool, guys. Here's why you should join. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Saying, get on the plane and die for the glory of Israel. And obviously, yeah, a lot of people seem to be talking a lot about Israel and stuff. And I think it's to do with, the fact that, there is the war that is going on. I mean, it's pretty unavoidable to kind of talk about within, Iran and stuff like that. And many people are thinking, oh, morale's a little bit low. Maybe the government has hired VTubers to recruit people. Now, again, I don't know. It's a very interesting, I guess, thing that people are saying, right? I think it's very interesting that people think that, this is like a government, backed thing, and the government are getting VTubers to get you to enlist in the US Navy. I just don't think that's the case. I think that's a little bit too far, but again, maybe, the government has done much stranger things, or at least the US government has done much stranger things. So, I wouldn't be surprised if, that was the case. But again, obviously a lot of people have been, going after and whatever for that, which again, I don't really like. Again, it's the case of whether this is, some kind of recruitment thing or not. Some people go after her for that, but also some people are going after her for supporting the Navy and stuff like that. Again, I don't think there's any problem with, supporting the Navy or kind of being interested in the Navy. I think that's totally fine. And again, I think that people attacking it over that is, a little bit stupid. But again, if you want to ask questions about whether, this is actually some kind of secret recruitment thing, I think that's totally fine, right? But obviously she is with, Virtual Pulse here, who actually responded to everything that went on, saying, in light of recent events, we would like to speak out against defamatory statements directed towards a valued member of our team. And they say, to our valued community at Virtual Pulse, we stand behind our talent, Admiral Trina. A recent discussion surrounding a personal post have led to a wave of harmful assumptions and mischaracterizations that do not reflect who she is or what she represents. We want to be clear, our talents are individuals entitled to their own perspectives, and they deserve to express themselves without being subjected to harassment or defamation. And I think that's, yeah, fair enough. Like, if she wants to talk about the Navy or whatever, she can go ahead. I don't have any issue with that, right? I don't know why some people are getting so mad at it, right? They're saying Admiral Trina is a valued member of our organization, and she has our full support. We will always prioritize the well-being, safety, and professional integrity of those under our banner. We encourage a respectful dialogue within the community. However, targeted harassment, false accusations, or attempts to damage the reputation of our talent will not be tolerated. Virtual Pulse was built on the principle of respect, growth, and opportunity. We will continue to uphold these values and protect our team. Now, this also got backlash as well. Obviously, 200,000 views, 400 likes. Obviously, somebody saying absolutely based, supporting for your talent. Need more of this. I don't know what they're saying. So facts is around the VTuber space, which again, yeah, I think that's fair enough, right? I said, if you're going to be cowards and hide all the replies, why leave the comments open? Obviously, yeah, apparently they've been hiding a couple of replies. They're saying, we're not hiding disagreement, we're hiding harassment. Respectful criticism stays up. Which, yeah, I mean, again, it's up to them. I don't care. But people are saying your company owner, so your company is a Psyop. The owner is a Fed. Obviously, they talk about the fact of the CEO is a full-time police officer at UC Health and graduated from UC Clement Police Academy in 2019. So again, they've also been a sergeant in the U.S. Army Reserves too. So they also are involved in military stuff as well, which of course has a lot of people asking questions, right? Of like, oh, is this some kind of government-backed thing, right? But of course, they say it's a veteran-owned virtual talent agency. And again, if they, if people in the military want to do VTubing, I think that's fine, right? I don't think there's any problem with that. But obviously, some people are just skeptical on whether this is supposed to be some kind of like promotion for the Navy and the Army and whatsoever. Or if this, is just, someone who enjoys it a lot and is just kind of promoting it a lot, right? People, have been commenting saying 100% organic VTuber that's coincidentally posting recruitment ads at the same time morale is low. The commander-in-chief is publicly announcing war crimes. She has just as much blood on her hands as the people pressing the buttons to bomb blank. Jesus Christ. Absolutely vile. Again, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, making a video about the Navy and why you like it, I don't think that's really, I don't think you're as much to blame as, other people in wars. But again, I think it's crazy. People saying we finally have our first Israeli VTuber. But well, we're not going to pay attention to Niara. Yeah, anyways, they say not a recruiter, using straight up a recruiter B-roll, which, to be fair, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, right? The video does like kind of the way that it's like framed and the kind of content that they use. You're not helping yourself. If you are not a recruiter, if you're actually not a recruiter, you're not helping yourself with the kind of B-roll footage, right? I definitely think it does come off a little bit like a kind of recruitment video, right? But of course, as well, they have their YouTube channel, which I was pretty interested in, right? I haven't really, seen too much about it. But again, apparently they have 124,000 subscribers, which is a lot, right? That's a lot of subscribers. But, a lot of things don't really add up. I don't know. They make a lot of like comic dub things and like dubbing over comics, which I guess is what they got popular with. But again, even then, the most popular video is 500,000 views, and I don't know, it's a bit odd. It's 125,000 subs. Most popular video, 533,000 views. And then if you go on the actual video itself, oh, I got an ad for Coach, brilliant. It's got 4.4k likes. 4.4k likes for 533,000 views. That's quite low. That is quite low. I'm not trying to like, I don't know. It's just my kind of perspective of things. That's quite low. I could get I got 4,000 likes off of, less than that, like maybe like a 100k video, maybe even 70k. But again, 533 is quite, it's quite low. But anyways, and the same with the shorts. They don't really get many. They got 29,000 of most popular short. So again, and they got 125,000 followers. I don't know how that works. Maybe, you know, they've done something in the past that maybe they privated. I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but obviously that's something that people have been bringing up as well, is their sub count to like kind of view ratio of the content that they upload. So yeah, I mean, it is pretty you know, it's an interesting topic. At the end of the day, I don't really care, but you know, in the fact that, you know, obviously I'm not in the US, so I don't care about the US Navy either. But obviously I know some people do care, and some people have been going after them. But you know, I think it is just like, if they're a recruiter, then, you know, I guess the government are using new ways to kind of recruit people. If they're not, then I think it's just someone passionate about the Navy, and they're allowed to be passionate about that if they want to, because everybody has their own special interests, right? But at the end of the day, I do think it is just something that, you know, I don't know if we will ever know, or if anything will ever come from this, but you know, we'll have to see, right? But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.